The first pro-social trait that you can leverage through the process of identity priming and then use tangentially or subconsciously or covertly when you describe your product is generosity. Everybody loves to believe that we are generous. But this isn't necessarily financial generosity. This is generosity with our time, generosity with our attention, generosity with our patience with others, generosity with how we share the wonderful ideas that are in our head, generosity with our leadership, generosity with our opinions. So we all love to believe we are generous. We all subconsciously like to believe or will respond positively to any ideas that suggest that we are in the top 20% of people because of our generosity. So when you identity prime this, you can then later leverage it with the description of your product. And the way you do this is to say, based on what you just told me, based on how you're explaining your answers, based on something about your personality, I'm not sure what, but you seem to me to be somebody who's very, very generous in a lot of different subtle ways. Am I imagining things, or is this correct? And you'll get a positive ping because everybody will admit that, yeah, I'm kind of generous. And then you ask the presuppositional questions with the double bind. When you are feeling generous, is this around familiar people or mostly strangers? And simply by choosing which is correct, they will accept the presupposition that they are a generous person. Have you always been generous, or is this something that you've developed as you get older? Did you learn your generosity from other people, from role models like your parents, or is this something that's intuitive and innate in you? When you're being generous to others, do you have a specific outcome? Are you hoping for some kind of reciprocity, or are you generous just because this is who you are? Do you sometimes feel frustrated because other people sometimes take advantage of your generosity? Yes or no? Yeah, sometimes. Do you sometimes feel frustrated because other people are not as generous as you? This is a double whammy because it also presupposes when you say other people are not as generous as you, that presupposes that they have hierarchical status compared to other people, which would validate or strengthen the idea that they belong in the top 20% of society because of their generosity. Then when you describe the product, you can say people that are generous tend to appreciate this product because of this thing. Let me show you to you. And they will put themselves into that product description, and they will see buying the product or going along with your persuasive idea as an extension of their generosity, which is an extension of their worthiness of being in the top 20%. The next pro-social trait you can elicit through identity priming is reliability. We all believe that we're reliable, not in a doormat way, but in a very assertive way. And how we represent this in our minds is up to everybody to do. It's not something we'll ever say about ourselves, maybe sometimes in a job interview, but it's definitely something that we'll respond to when someone suggests that we are reliable. So it's basically the same technique. You seem to be somebody, based on how you're answering these questions, based on how your body language, something, I'm not sure, but something about your energy makes it seem like you're a very reliable person. Am I imagining things, or is that more or less correct? And they'll say, yeah, I'm reliable. And then just say that, use the either or questions, the presuppositional questions with the double bind. When you're reliable, is this around familiar people or strangers? Is this something you've always done, or is this something that's relatively new? Did you learn this from role models, or is this something innate? When you're reliable with other people, is this something you're hoping to use to reciprocate and get something in exchange, or is this just the way you are? And do you sometimes feel frustrated because other people take advantage of your reliability? Do you sometimes feel frustrated because other people are not as reliable as you? They might not come up with specific memories of them being reliable because it's kind of hard. Our ego keeps us from saying, I'm so awesome. But we will talk about other people compared to ourselves. Yes, other people are not as reliable as me, and they'll put their attention on the other people. Then you just leverage this when you describe your product. The next one is courage. This is a very broad umbrella that includes a lot of positive pro-social traits: decision-making, leadership, overcoming obstacles. So when you say this, it's the same way. You seem to be someone who's very courageous when you need to be. Now, that's a very vague statement. It's a very Milton model vague statement. You're very courageous when you need to be, and everybody will say yes to that. And so again, let them represent that in their mind however they want. And once you get a positive feedback from their facial expressions or their tonality or their body language, then you ask the presuppositional questions with the double binds. When you're feeling courageous, is this around Strangers or people you're familiar with? Is this something you've always been, or is this something you've developed? Does this sometimes get you into trouble socially, or is it more of a benefit socially? When you're acting courageous and you're maybe thinking about leading others, is this something you're hoping for some kind of reciprocation, or are you courageous just because that's who you are? Do you sometimes get frustrated because other people are not as courageous as you, or not as courageous as you wish they would be? And they will say yes. Then you can give them an outlet to flex through the talking about other people compared to them. And these are three very powerful pro-social traits that you can elicit through identity priming. They will self-identify with these traits, which will make them imagine that they're in the top 20% of society, and the buying of your product or the believing of your idea or the going along with your persuasive message will be a validation of their deep, ancient, prime directive human drive to be in the top 20% of society.